Welcome back to episode 4 of The Coach and the Cowboy. This is an action-packed kind of recap. We've got a lot of stuff jammed into episode 4 here, Josh. A lot of stuff has been going on with the NCAA tournaments, both men and women's. College football is kicking off here with spring stuff. NFL draft is right around the corner. The Masters golf tournament just started today. So we have got an action-packed, a lot of stuff to cram in here, Josh. This one is going to be a good one.
We have a lot to talk about to catch up on our last 3 episodes. It's going to be exciting. So just buckle up and see where we take you.
Absolutely. Well, if you are not familiar with the sports world, I don't know where you've been, but the women's NCAA basketball tournament, and if you're wondering why would 2 dudes be leading off their podcast talking about women's basketball, it all has to do with the players. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, the South Carolina Gamecocks going undefeated into it. There's a lot of star power in the women's basketball right now, Josh. What were some of your takeaways of the women's tournament?
So usually I fill out both brackets of men and women. So going
Sure.
into it, I was like, usually for women, it's mostly chalk, right? Because most of the better teams win. But this year there's a few upsets. But my takeaway is the stronger teams made it to the end, besides the one surprise of both tournaments, NC State for both men and women's. Ended in there, which was kind of shocking, which is good for the school, for both of those schools, for sure. But my takeaway is that I felt kind of like this tournament was coming down to almost the 2 best teams. Like South Carolina, no doubt, was the best team all year. And then I felt like the tournament kind of carried Iowa to the finals a little bit with that interesting call in the UConn game. But
oh man, that was tough, wasn't it?
That was tough. Like, if you're a ref, I don't know, man. But the other big thing is, like, we're bringing the show with this first is because their viewing outdid the men's.
That's crazy, isn't it?
Nuts. It's crazy. And it was a pretty decent game until after a few minutes into the to the end there. But
yeah, and it's no secret. Listen, I'm not an Iowa fan. I'm not. I never will be. But I'll tip my cap. Tip my cap to Caitlin. Unbelievable. And the thing about it, there are few athletes that you will have in a generation that when they're on, you have got to find a TV. Think about it. Obviously Michael Jordan is one of them. Tiger Woods is another one. Anytime, I don't like, even now, even though Tiger is way past his prime, if he's in the hunt, you are finding a TV on Sunday afternoon. And with Caitlin Clark, it was the same way. Listen, I watch more women's basketball, which wasn't much. I've watched more women's basketball from an Iowa, team than I have anybody else. So I
can agree with you with that.
She's one of those that you just have to watch her. It's unbelievable. So congratulations to South Carolina. What's that?
Yeah, for sure. But the other cool thing is they had the matchup of Iowa against LSU from last year's championship game.
Yeah.
That was neat too, with all the trash talk and all that too. Like, women's college basketball has a little bit more of that, like, little back and forth there. So it was kind of interesting.
You kind of had the America's sweetheart, Caitlin Clark, go up against, the villain, Ken Mulkey's over there being all crazy on the sidelines. And you got Angel Reese who's talking trash and doing different things like that.
And the girl transferred from Louisville.
Yeah. So they've really done a good job. And, it's switching it over to the men's tournament. I mean, you want to talk about almost straight vanilla. Like, if you juxtapose the women's tournament versus the men's tournament, I mean, the men's tournament was an absolute snooze fest. There's, outside of NC State, there's really what's the storylines? Wow, a number one seed, won it all. The favorite won it all. Wow, Purdue made it to the finals. Like there was no action, and I think that's the problem with men's basketball right now. Like outside of Edie and like maybe some guys from North Carolina State. I mean, are you really getting excited about everybody from UConn? Like what star power do we have in men's college basketball? And I think that's why the women's, the ratings far exceeded what the men's polled.
True. And like another thing for the women's thing, which was cool. So South Carolina won, and they were the 10th team to go undefeated in a season. So, and 6 of those belong to UConn, which is crazy. Baylor did it in 2012, Tennessee in 98, and then Texas back in 1986. But like the women,
that Texas team in '86, I tell you what.
Yeah, woo! Since we were so old watching that game. But no, that's just amazing to me. Even like the stat saying UConn holds 6 of the 10 undefeated seasons.
I mean, that Gino guy is unbelievable up there.
It's amazing. But like you said, like the only big thing was, okay, Bama beat a good team to get into the Final Four, which we know they outplayed them near the end. NC State just got hot, which we'll talk about here in a minute, and got in. I mean, were there some upsets? Sure. Kentucky lost again. That's typical Kentucky the last 3 years. And then the big news is John Calipari is on to Arkansas.
So, which we can touch base on. But this stat, I saw this stat, and this just epitomizes the absolute snooze fest that was the NCAA tournament on the men's side. 67 games were played. Okay, 67 games, 42 games. So 2/3 of the games were decided by double digits, including all Final Four games, the 2 Final Four games, and the national championship. I mean, outside of NC State, there's no Cinderellas. Oakland had a little bit of a spurt that everybody were in, Metro Detroit. So everybody got, super excited about that.
Makes, other than that makes plenty of sense. Like some of the games are blowouts. Like UConn for the first 3 games only trailed for 28 seconds. Their average margin of victory was like 28.7 points for the first 3 games of the tournament. Like, come on.
And good for them. Good for them.
Yeah.
That Hurley's got
in the making.
He's got a hell of a program, and the good news for him is he's got a plug and play system, so he doesn't require the star power that some of the other programs require. And who knows? They're probably going to be the odds-on favorite for a three-peat, maybe. I don't know, but yeah, it's kind of crazy. The ACC, they really balled out this year. They had 3 of the Elite 8 teams, NC State, Clemson, and Duke. Zach Edey was dominant. He's just a boring guy. He has 0 personality. He gives you 0 takes. I mean, the guy's just straight vanilla.
Hey, fun fact on him. I was reading because it came out because he won the Wooden Award back-to-back. The only player that's done it in whatever years it was. I don't remember, but he cannot capitalize on his name in any NIL deals because he's from Canada.
The Canucks cannot take NIL number. They'll be denounced like their citizenship.
I don't know. Like,
Jimmy Hortons anymore, or what? I mean, why? What's the deal with Canada?
I don't know. Like, since he's from there, he can't take any money from America for NIL deals. So that's like he's losing out, which is crazy. Which is interesting because they brought it up after the tournament was over. So that's interesting.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, is he really losing out? I mean, you're telling me if the guy wasn't 7'4", you're telling me you'd go buy whatever car or whatever, or you'd be able to recognize him out on the street if he wasn't 7'4"? I mean, the guy's got 0 personality, man. He averaged 30 points a game, almost 30 points a game, including 37 in the championship. The guy's unbelievable, but how does that translate to the NBA? I don't know. I mean,
I don't think he has an outside shot.
No, he doesn't. So I don't know. To me, the men's tournament was a dud. It was disappointing.
But I mean, it was cool. Like for NC State to go, So they
Yeah.
finished the season 17-14, I believe. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. They went 4-10 in their last 14 regular season games. So meaning going into the tournament, they had to get that automatic bid. So then they ended up winning 5 games in 5 days and got
So
that.
they had to win the ACC
Yep,
tournament, right?
win
Yep.
out. So I forgot who they played first, but then they ended up beating Duke, and then they played somebody else, and they beat North Carolina championship. So 5 games
Yep.
in 5 days, got 11th bid, got the 11th seed bid, and then went on their run. I'm not gonna lie, I was a little hurt when they beat us again, but I was kind of pissed because I think we could have took Purdue. But anyways, that was just a great story. Even because we talked about earlier about Jim Bravano in our last thing about one of your top moments.
Yeah.
That they
Yeah.
haven't been anywhere since then.
I think that was I'm going off of memory too. I think that was their first Final Four since '83,
Yeah.
since they won it. And here's the other thing. The center, DJ Burns. I think it was DJ. There's 2 DJs, right? Or there's 2 Burns. I can't remember. I think there's 2 DJs on North Carolina State's team. He would be the center. That kid, he's got an NIL deal. He's American. He's not Canadian. He'll take the money. He's got an NIL deal with Applebee's or something like that. But he is a personality. I'm not just
sure.
Mr. Negative here. But the problem is, obviously, nobody knew who the heck this guy was until, they started making the run. And they're like, geez, oh, Pete, who is this tank in the middle of the lane making moves and all this other stuff?
It's crazy too because he also get like a couple of minutes break because he was so big and he had like a little rest and he'd come in and just start making these crazy ass hook shots all over the place.
Yeah, I mean, but the dude, he definitely put himself on the map. I don't know how old he is. We could probably look it up if he's coming back next year or what he's got planned. But just seeing the pure joy of him running around playing, that was fun. And,
and his
as a fan, as a fan, that's what we want to see.
But the other thing I did like is UConn repeating because it's the first time it's happened since Florida in 2006, 2007 with Jim Noah and all those, Corey Brewer, Al Horford and all them.
Yep.
Now, I think Billy Donovan was the coach at the time. Yeah.
Makes sense. Yeah, that was when Florida was winning national championships on the gridiron on the football field.
Yeah.
And then turn around and winning them on the hard.
I know. Florida beat Ohio State. Florida beat Ohio State on the basketball court when they had Greg Oden and Connolly and them. I was like, I didn't see that happening because you knew those 2 teams were going to meet. For that, if you were filling out a bracket that year, those teams were on a collision course to the end. But the cool thing about the men's tournament is how Dan Hurley always had the chip on his shoulder. So he used everything that the NCAA tournament did against him to make his team play harder and use against him. So for the start of their games for a few times, they've got the bad time. For the whole plane incident, getting them to the Final Four.
That was ridiculous.
Like you couldn't all the money, no one could have figured out some private jet to get him down there. So he just used that. Because in one of his press conferences, he talked about it. It was like, we'll just use this for more ammo that they don't want us to be here. They don't want us to win.
Yeah. And I think that's what coaches and all the best players really do. I mean, you look at, for crying out loud, Michael Jordan's Hall of Fame speech. He was calling out a kid who he called out the coach who cut him from the high school basketball team. This guy is literally retiring, giving his Hall of Fame speech, and he's calling out how a coach cut him. And it's like, goodness, let's move it on. But that's, I think, a lot of what drives people and, to be at that level of greatness.
I think using the chip helps the teams that are always the ones that are always the hunted, the ones that everybody plays their best games and they storm the court or whatever. But having that extra motivation or just somebody slipping up and saying, oh, that guy's terrible. No, we'll use that. Any bulletin board material, I feel like nowadays gives a little bit of an edge, depending on how the coach uses it.
Absolutely. Hey, speaking of greatness and, really great conversation that we had last episode in the Coach's Corner. Joe Ellis, unbelievable story. If you hadn't listened to it, go back and check it out because I mean, I know I got some good information from it, some good nuggets, some stuff. I was like, are you serious right now? I mean, what just kind of thinking back is, it was a couple days ago there that we did that. What kind of stood out to you, Josh? Any kind of put a bow on that episode?
I mean, I wish the listeners could have like heard us off camera. Like we had so many other questions, and like he gave a little like more some other stuff follow up, but like
Mm-hmm.
his story is just like unbelievable. Just being
Yeah.
like, all right, I'll give this hammer throw a chance, whatever, and
Yeah.
then it
Just
turns into getting 20% scholarship, and he's like, you know what? I have this drive,
yeah.
determination, and vision to be
Yep.
like, I am not putting my parents in debt. I am going to win a Big Ten championship, or I think he said you had to finish like first or second or something, or throw something. I can't remember off the top of my head now to get that extra 90 so that I have my college paid for.
Yeah.
And he enjoyed his time there. Like, of course, he talked about being far away. He touched on that, but just it's amazing how he said the people he had around him, the coaching, and his own fire inside him wouldn't let him be denied. I mean, that's
Yeah.
pretty much in a nutshell. I'm sure you might have a couple other things you want to add, but like
No,
it,
that is
I mean,
perfect right there.
if you ever have time to talk to him, listeners, or we might be on again, I mean, he has some good wisdom for any young athlete that's coming up that thinks they want to do play in college. It doesn't matter if it's D1, D2, D3, or the lower division. It doesn't matter. You still have to have that fire that pushes you. And
Absolutely.
and the fun thing is, I talked to him over the weekend. Remember, he brought up he's doing the NFL thing to show how good he was compared to the other ones that did the tryouts at
Yeah.
Indy,
Yeah. At the combine. Yeah.
and he ran a 4.95.
He ran a
Um,
4.95.
yep, at 300 pounds.
Holy smokes.
So he was just slower than the Michigan defensive tackle, Jenkins. He benched 225 39 times. That would be the best for his position. Um,
Goodness.
he doesn't have a vertical. He joked about that. So we did talk about that. He's like, I didn't really get up. But it's just amazing that he was like, you know what? After that, I just want to try this and see where I could be fit with these dudes.
Yeah.
So if you have a chance to listen, I recommend you go to episode 3 and listen to our coach's corner.
Absolutely. No, I appreciate you setting that up because I mean that truly was eye opening. It was absolutely eye opening, and Joe, he is the first class guy, and that was a great episode. So I
He might have
appreciate
went to the team up north, but he's still a great guy. So
that. All good, all good. Well, hey, I tell you what, we are in the middle of spring football, college football, and we've got some big storylines. Obviously, I mean, it's just the way college football is nowadays. Uh, with the transfer portal, with NIL deals, everything else. I mean, it is literally musical chairs. If you turn off the TV, after, the bowl games in January and then turn it back on come September or late August when the games kick off, you'll be thoroughly confused in regards to, wait, I thought that guy was on the other team, and how did this guy get over here? And
so
what in the
true.
world? I mean, it is, if you pluck somebody from the 80s watching football, college football, and then you pluck them into 2024 season, I mean, it is totally different. Not only the style of play, but just the mentality of the player. So, we've got some highlights or some big kind of spring storylines. Josh, what do you got for spring football, kind of an overview for college football here for what you see, kind of big storylines coming into spring
Um,
football?
I think we're gonna start off with like the fun thing you were talking about. So we'll do QBs on the move. So you can kind of give me
QB on
your
the move.
feeling
I love
because
it.
you pretty much know all these QBs, maybe besides. We'll look at the list real quick. Probably like one. I don't think you know one of them, but
Okay.
you can kind of give me your opinion. So the first one I'm gonna start off with, everybody knows.
Oh my gosh.
Uh,
Here we go.
Kyle McCord transfers from Ohio
Oh,
State to Syracuse.
yeah.
I kind of saw that one coming. I am not disappointed in this at all. So if there's people out there saying I'm mad about it. I am not. I'm 100% kick his ass out.
I mean, to be honest, and who they replaced him with, Will Howard
from Kansas State.
Yeah, from Kansas State. I think if you switched your nameplates on the back of their jersey, I don't know if you'd be able to tell the difference between the two.
Oh,
maybe you
can. Whoa. Okay,
do you think they're going to be that much of a different team? Do you think Will Howard
with him?
is?
Yeah, because he can run. He can run. He had 12 TDs running for Kansas State, and then he had
Is he going to stay healthy?
Oh, for sure. He's always been healthy. I think it's a good pickup. I think it works well in the system. Chip, I think it'll be good. I like it. It makes me feel like Kyle McCord didn't have the drive to play at one of the big colleges ever, Ohio State. That he was like, I can't do this, and it's too much pressure, and my daddy's making the decisions for me behind, and I'm out. So that's how I feel about that.
All right.
Got me all heated now.
I like it. We need this.
Then we got.
We don't want to be the men's tournament. We don't want to be vanilla here. We got to have a little bit.
You're right. I'm just glad he's gone. They could have. Yeah, I would have went down there and packed his bags. Riley Leonard from Duke transferred to Notre Dame. That's a big pickup for Notre Dame. Here's one that you like. Dylan Gabriel from Oklahoma went to Oregon.
Yeah.
So that'll be interesting. Yep. I'm not sure I don't feel like it's a big drop off from Bo Nix, but Dylan Gabriel has played a ton of ball. He's also played at Central Florida and a few other places. So the guy kind of wanted to go to Ohio State, but ended up taking his name out of the NFL draft was Cam Ward from Washington State. Went to the U. Oof. So he's down there. We'll see what happens. The U's a whole nother story. Malcolm Murphy from Texas left and went to Duke because Texas's QB room is pretty packed. That was interesting. Julian Sane, Alabama recruit, left and came to Ohio State. So that's a big pickup. Another young guy in the QB room. Will Rogers from Mississippi State, who had a great season for them. Ended up going to Washington to replace Michael Penix Jr., which I think that's a good pickup for Washington. He had a great year in the SEC for sure.
Yeah, I thought he did too.
My laugher of the QBs that left is Cam Ward comes in, Tyler Van Dyke leaves Miami and goes to Wisconsin. So I don't know if Wisconsin's going to do good for them, but we will see. That's
surprisingly here. There is one that you did not list that I am thoroughly shocked about, to be honest with you.
Somebody transferred? I forgot.
Yeah, and if you can pronounce the guy's name, that's points for you.
I know
DJ, DJ Ukamajababa. He went from Oregon State, so he was at Clemson. Went to Oregon State. He had a decent season there. Now he's down. Now he's down at Florida State, and it'll be interesting to see what Florida State can do. And we'll talk about
after getting snubbed in the. I was a little mad. Okay, I'm sorry.
I know.
I didn't bring him up. Because I feel like he was on my list to talk about, like one of the most pressure, but it's fine.
Yeah, no, we can talk about him again. We'll talk about FSU again. Like I'm intrigued by FSU. I mean, you got Keon Coleman, who transferred from Michigan State down to Florida State, absolutely balled out last year.
Now he's out of the NFL.
Yep. Now he left for the NFL. The defense, you've got a top, probably a top 10 end. Forget number 5, whatever his name is. I forget what his name is, but
Jared Burke.
Yeah, he is. He's going to be whatever.
And then their other wide receiver probably like a second round pick, the 6'7" dude.
Yeah,
as well. They brought in some transfers as well. A couple Georgia guys came in.
Yep,
which was nice.
So the other kind of spring football that I'll get into a little bit, I got to talk about it because I'm a Nebraska guy, is how is Nebraska what are they going to look like? Is Dylan Raiola going to step in and get the nod at QB1 as a true freshman? Obviously, highly touted, was committed to Georgia. Nebraska got him to flip last minute. The defense was unbelievable last year, but how will it look? Can offense and special teams, can they pull their weight too? We don't know. Turnovers have always been a big problem for Nebraska, and this is a key stat since 2001. And they got to figure this out. 2021.
Okay.
Nebraska is they played in 19 one-score games since 2021. They are 2-17. They are 2-17 in one-score games. And
I feel like that's because you didn't have a QB to run your team.
Well, what's crazy is I'm a big believer, and I think you would agree with this. The team is an extension of the coach, right? And when I see a record like 2-17, it tells me that you have a coaching staff that either A, is highly unorganized, they are not confident, and there is not a clear message about what the team is doing in key moments, and they don't have an identity. You're 2-17. I mean,
that's
at least
true. I mean, a few of those games they ran like Adrian Martinez, like QB sneak, let's go.
And so to me, I think rules got them in a place where they need to be. But who wants to be the king of the offseason? We've got to produce when the season is happening.
He didn't have a bad season. He finished 5-7 his first season. So I call them old faces, new places, right?
Yep.
He won 5-7. Kind of what I thought. He is, mapping his team how he wants to make it. I thought he was always a good coach. They brought in the talented QB who could be a flash in the pan because he said first was going to go to Ohio State, then Georgia, and then he's like, I'm going to go home. So we'll see.
Yep.
He bounced around 4 different high schools, so we'll see. I mean, I think if they get that figured out, I think they'll be a lot better.
Yep.
Speaking of old faces, new places, because we're on this little thing. Changing of the guard down at Alabama. Nick Saban is gone, and they bring in Kellen DeVere from Washington, which was pretty interesting. We'll see how that season goes. So that's interesting. My other big one for me, real quick, is because I want to plug this because it's me. So is Chip Kelly leaving UCLA as the head coach and taking the offensive coordinator position at the Ohio State University, which just is mind blowing to me. But I love his offensive mind. Like he even said, which was really cool in one of the interviews, they said when he lost his offensive coordinator at UCLA, he got to coach the quarterbacks and the offense.'s like, I've missed this so much. He's like, I'm done with all the other stuff. I'd rather just be the coach. So
well, and that kind of speaks to, and Nick Saban talked about this too, and he's been vocal about this for the past couple of years, and other coaches have come out as well. Coaching in 2024 is different than it was in coaching in 2017. I mean, with the just the influx of money through NIL and what you have to do, it's a totally different ballgame. You're constantly recruiting the guys you got. You're constantly trying to get new recruits and just trying to deal with all of that and the egos and what are you going to pay me now and all that other stuff that Saban has talked about. I mean, it's not just X's and O's anymore. You are a CEO of a multi-million-dollar, company, and you have got to think like that. And you're constantly recruiting.
You got to think like, what it's going to take for them to give me a raise to keep me to stay? Like, what bag are you going to throw at it?
And the fundraising.
Even his wife said like it's not the same anymore when he meets with when she always met with the other moms and dads that came because they take the guys on their boat and everything. And she's like, the first thing they asked me is like, how much are you going to pay my son? To come here. So, it's a totally different thing with all these deals out there and everything. So
and I mean, some people, hey, that's where it is right now. There's nothing. The bell's already been rung. We're not going to be able to put the ketchup back in the bottle, so you might as well just embrace it. And I think, some of the coaches, that we'll talk about here in a little bit are embracing that and trying to figure out how you can navigate the old school with the new school, and making sure that you're one of the top
I
programs.
mean, one of the biggest things I think that's going to hurt high school players is them just dipping into the transfer portal and getting somebody that's played for a year or so. I'm like, why take a freshman instead? I can get somebody that's played maybe in a big conference and has those games under their belt. And I'm like,
100%.
that'll be something that we'll see here in the future as well. Quick ad that came in my head. Don't want to give the listeners anything too crazy, but possibly next Coach's Corner. I don't think Reggie knows. There's possibly a friend of mine who works, helps out at Michigan State, so he might come on and talk about some NIL deal stuff. So that should be interesting.
Yeah.
Get behind the scenes a little bit. So
yeah, I mean, that would be super interesting because when you first hear NIL, you're like, are these guys going to star on car commercials? Are they going to like be, dipping chicken wings and ranch sauce, say, come on down and buy one, get one free wings?
It's funny you said that. They could, because he said, like, just a little example he gave me was you pull up the spreadsheet, you have everybody's name, like the biggest guy at the top, all the way down, and they say how much they charge for an event. So they could be, come on down to, Randy's barbecue, and he gets paid to talk about it. But yeah, so that if we can get it happen, that'll be something cool for the listeners, because not every day you get to actually dig into what's actually happening behind the scenes of a big university. So
absolutely. Just real quick, talking about we talked about like the individual players, but some of the big kind of expectations or the big question marks going into the college football season. I mean, this year specifically, we've got conference realignment. So the Big Ten expanded, adding who they add? Washington,
Oregon, UCLA, and USC.
You've
and the Big Ten got rid of division, so now it's wide open.
And then you've got Texas and Oklahoma joining the SEC. And is it this year or next year is doing the expanded playoff?
No, this year it is. It's
is going to be 12.
12. And then you need to add the Big 12 just added Arizona State, Colorado, and Utah to the Big 12. And then the ACC, I'm kind of like on this, but they added Cal, Stanford, and SMU to the ACC.
That's very Atlantic.
Yeah,
good job, ACC. Right. It's very Atlantic of you.
I mean, hey, their grades will be good.
Yeah. Jeez,
and then that leaves the Pac-12 with two teams, Oregon State and Washington State, that nobody wanted.
Which is why, this is what happens. A season ends, coaches move, quarterbacks move, conferences get changed, and all of a sudden, again, if you're watching football last year and you turn it on this year, you're going to be like, what the hell just happened here? Because we've got, games being played. For instance, Texas is going to the SEC, right? They play Michigan, which isn't like super unusual. Sometimes they'll play a big out of conference opponent. Mm-hmm. They play OU, obviously Oklahoma with the Red River rivalry there. They play Georgia, Florida, and Texas A&M. Oklahoma ends the season with Missouri, which was kind of a surprise team of last year, but they were top 10 and, right there. Alabama, LSU. Missouri, Alabama, LSU is how.
You want? I can't look at. I don't remember off the top of my head. But talking about schedules, if you brought it up, Florida's is insane.
Really?
Their schedule, like they could go 0-5 right out of the gate.
Oh, that would be lovely.
That would be lovely. Yes, I would love that.
I am not a Florida. I am not a Florida fan.
It's just crazy about all the big games, like USC schedule's tough when they come into the Big Ten. Like
it's actually not bad, and if you look at it, I don't think, because I could probably pull it up or something, but they won't really have any cold weather games. So, which is interesting, and then so that's a big storyline, right? Is what is Lincoln Riley going to do at USC? I mean, He had that Caleb Williams and really underperformed there. You know, what's going to happen there? Oregon's obviously joining. But here's my big question.
Okay.
Is and if there's anybody that I know that can speak to this, you would be the man. Is can Ryan Day, can he win when it matters? Because the bottom line is this: Ohio State has taken all the chips. They went to the ATM, they cleared out their bank account, they put they put their Buckeyes on the table, and they shoved them forward. And they said, we're winning it this year. Michigan won it this year. And I think they felt the heat. Ryan Day feels it. The question is he going to win? And can Will Howard lead him to the promised land of where Ohio State wants to go?
All right. So you're giving me the stage here. Okay. All right. Okay. So let's start. So Ryan Day, I think, is like 39-8. Outside of the Big Ten, or in the Big Ten now. I'm a little worried about Michigan still, but I think they might have a down year. But I don't really consider him on the hot seat because, like, Jim went 0-5 to start his tenure at Michigan against Ohio State. So I know they finally won a couple, and we've choked it away with some of the good teams we had. But you're right, all the chips went in, and I'm feeling it's champion or bust. We brought in the number one running back in the nation who left Ole Miss. We brought in the number one freshman safety from Alabama who is like a headhunter out there. We brought in some offensive linemen. We brought all everybody's back. The whole defense is back minus a couple. So they all stayed. Mm-hmm. So like you said, they must have threw the bank and like, what are we going to do? Or they're just all in on this team and they like their vibe. So, I mean, we will see. I think that with Chip running the offense, Ryan's just going to monitor the rest of the stuff and not have his hand in everything. And I think it's, like I said, I think it's championship or bust, or at least we need to beat Michigan and get to the final. And that's all I'm saying. Like, that's a perfect season. Like, if we lose in the championship, it could happen. I mean, one bad throw here or there, but I feel like this is the season where that's it. Beat Michigan, win a Big Ten championship, win the championship, or if we do lose, I still think it's a successful season. That's where I'm at with this. I don't know if you feel the same way if it was like your team with everything on the line in there. But with me saying the whole defense came back, some of the offensive skill players came back. Yep. It's they must have I think this is the year where the chip on their shoulder is so huge that they're going to run through a wall. Like this is everything's on the line.
Yep. And I feel that's what they've been doing, and that's what they did with NIL. Even though the guy
they basically reloaded in free agency.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, they went out and Yankeed their way. Let's see if we can bring home a championship. I mean, for a guy who was born on third base, you would think he would be able to score every now and then, but it hasn't happened yet. So we will see. Another guy that is going all in, and he's in the media, everything else, is Lane Kiffin. I'm a Lane Kiffin fan. I think he's fun. He's a little goofy, a little quirky, but it'll be interesting to see what Ole Miss can do. Georgia is still ruling the roost down there in the SECville. Obviously, Nick Saban retired. You got Kellen DeBoer coming in at Alabama. I give him a couple years to figure out what's going down over there, and how the SEC rolls. But I think if you're going to make a move in the SEC, Lane's got to do it, and I think they're trying to put together a team and see what we can do. So
I feel like that's like everybody's thought right now, that Lane Kiffin needs to, instead of winning just 10 games, win the SEC championship and get the motor going a little bit.
And with a 12-team playoff, and we don't have to dive deep into this, but with a 12-team playoff, it used to be, okay, let me, before I dive into that, it used to be you make, as a Big Ten, team, you make the Rose Bowl. Like, that is it. You beat your rival, you make it to the Rose Bowl.
It's the pinnacle of pinnacle right there for a Big Ten.
Absolutely. Then obviously it got into the BCS championships and different things like that. Obviously we moved into the playoff, and so people can point to the playoff as the standard bearer, as the goal. But with a 12-team playoff, I mean, that really dilutes that, that accomplishment to say, is this really something that we can hang our hat on as a program? To say that we are an elite program because we finished in the, I mean, not the top 12 because they're not going to take the top 12 teams. But I don't know. What do you think about that? Especially if they go to 14. I mean, goodness gracious.
I mean, I just feel like, honestly, the NCAA is just trying to make more money, some way, somehow.
Well,
who's not? But yeah, who's not, right? But I don't know. I feel like if you make it into the playoff, then you have a chance to win it. I mean, that's the goal. It's almost like make it to March Madness. You could have a magical run, even if you're the 12th seed, anything's possible. That's why you line it up. But I don't see anything that's not. If my team, like if Ohio State wins it this year, or let's just say Nebraska sneaks in at 11 and knocks 2 teams out, that's a great season, right? I mean, even if whoever wins this first 12-team playoff is going to be the first one ever, and it's still an accomplishment. You had to play some more games, but you battled, tested all the way through,
Yeah. No, I guess what I'm saying is, like, you get bounced first round. Like you said, the NCAA tournament, right?
Mm-hmm.
Coach K's or Calipari's gotten bounced, and essentially that's the reason why he left Kentucky, because I forget what his record was like in the NCAA tournament the last 5 or 6 years, but it's not good. It's like 1-5 or something like that. So obviously he's feeling the heat, and I think, yeah, you mentioned Nebraska. Well, Nebraska, on the football field, outside of the 90s, hasn't really done anything. I mean, in the 60s, 70s, 80s, they were dominant too. But in our lifetime, like adult lifetime, they really haven't done anything. So if they make the playoffs, yeah, that's a hell of a deal. But for somebody like Ohio State, they're not going to be happy with making it to the playoff and then getting bounced first round.
Well, no, of course not. The goal
just like
is
Duke or Kentucky basketball.
Yeah, the goal is get to the Final Four and let's have a chance to win it. I totally agree with this. Yeah, just us making the playoff isn't it. It's we need to make the playoff every year and have that bye and get to the Final Four.
Cool. So what do you think about college football coaches? Let's get into this a little bit. Let's list time. I love list. It's list season because it's the off season and we need stuff to talk about. So we sit here and argue about 12 team versus 14. Is it diluting it down? Is what's going on here? What is so let's go through a little bit about some top college football coaches who you see as top 10, top 15, whatever it may be.
All right, so I have a top 15 list, so we'll debate this list. Okay, it's not my list.
Love it.
It's not my list. I forget where I pulled it from.
It's not your list.
No, this is the top 15 I found. So
come on, man.
I know, but this helps. I can't remember every single coach out there. Like I can remember a lot of them. But all right, so number 1 is of course Kirby Smart at Georgia.
Kirby. Yeah,
I mean,
check.
They've won.
He's my number 1 too.
Okay. Now here's where this whoever this list is starts to get wonky. Here we go.
I love it.
Number 2 is Lance Leopold from Kansas. I mean, they're a hot team, but I hasn't done anything yet, All right.
I agree with this.
You agree with number 2?
I am a Lance Leopold fanboy.
All right. He does have a good QB down there.
I was hoping Nebraska would grab him. He's won at every level. What he has done in the short time he's been at Kansas, with Kansas, and Kansas is not a football school.
No.
Outside of the 2000, what year? Mark Mangino. I think that was the coach's name. They went to the Orange Bowl.
I thought it was Charlie Weiss.
No. Charlie Weiss. He might have been okay there, but no. Mark
Okay.
Mangino. So they went to the Orange Bowl, and it was funny because like the Orange Bowl mascot is like the orange. He's a big round guy, and
Oh, the
so
big guy.
all
That's
the
right. Yeah.
all the memes about him being the Orange Bowl mascot. So
All right.
yes,
So you're
Lance
okay.
Leopold. I like Lance. Give me
Okay,
Lance.
we can agree to
I got a
disagree on
few.
this one. All right, number 3 is Kalen DeBoer, Alabama.
No,
I don't know about that one.
I
All
don't agree with that. And
It's just
here's the
because
reason
where
why.
he's at. It's probably just because he has the keys to the kingdom a little bit. That's why they probably put him there.
Well, and he did some good stuff with Washington, and that's fine. But he's new to Alabama. Like,
Right.
who knows
Exactly.
what's going to happen to this cat?
All right, so number 4 should be number 2. That's my opinion. Mike Norvell from Florida
Yep,
State.
yep, I agree with
Turning
that. I
that
like.
program around, using the transfer portal how it's meant to be used, bringing the Florida State Bobby Bowden Knowles back into the picture.
Yep,
And we don't have to talk about being snubbed, whatever, but bringing them back to Providence and not being like the doormat of Florida anymore.
listen, it's the top 4 best teams. It's not the most deserving.
Okay. Moving on. Number 5, Kyle Winningham at Utah.
Yes,
They've been on a little bit of a run. Their QB came back they'll have him this year from a bad injury. So that should be interesting. Number 6, I really don't like this guy. Number 6 is Brian Kelly, LSU.
I got him down a little bit further. I've got Lane Kiffin right there, but
Lane's down a little farther on this guy's list, but
yeah, I mean Brian Kelly has won every. I don't like him either, for the record, but he has won at Central Michigan. He won at Cincinnati.
Grand
He
Valley
won
State.
at Notre Dame. What's that?
Grand
Or
Valley
you went
State.
to Grand Valley State in there too. Okay.
Grand Valley State, Central Michigan, Cincinnati,
okay.
Notre Dame, and then he's like, "I'm going to LSU with his weird talking." Remember?
I mean, that's some Southern twang. Don't hate the player, hate the game.
But he is the most winningest coach in Notre Dame history, which is pretty cool. Though. I mean, come on, that's pretty big for that program, you know.
Yeah. Yep.
Number 7, Ryan Day, Ohio State. On this list, I probably have him up a little bit, but this isn't. I just found this list like
I've got him back a little bit.
Okay. Number 8 on this list was they put Dabo, but
yeah,
I think he might be out of the top 10. He's been hurting a little bit. He keeps hiring all his cousins and uncles down there, so I don't know what he's doing.
Yeah. I mean, Dabo. I mean, you could point to, now that everybody has NIL, where's Dabo, right?
Right.
Because that was always the question, who was the bag man over there and getting him the championships. But I still think he's a top 10 coach, but he's sliding.
Number 9 on this list, Mullet himself, Mike Gundy, Oklahoma State.
Hey, he's a man. I'm a man. Mike Gundy, I like him.
Yeah,
I don't have.
Sometimes I feel like sometimes his team is underachieved, but
yeah,
I do like him. I feel like he'd be a great coach to have.
He's a player's coach. Yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
That's the word I was looking for. Yeah.
Yep.
Number 10, hot name looks like they have is Jamie Chadwell from Liberty.
Okay.
I'm just going off. I didn't make my own list.
Yeah,
but this is going off.
I had Dan Lanning at the 10 spot.
Funny thing, he's not even on this list. Yeah. He should be on there.
I mean, I think what he's doing at Oregon is good. Obviously, the Pac-12 is not the Big Ten, and so this year will be a big question mark. And we talked about him earlier, but yeah.
I totally agree. So he wasn't on this list as top 15. So I added him as on for me. Number 11, we've already talked about him millions of times. I think he's going to be up on this list. Lane Kiffin. We don't have to even say anything. Lane Kiffin should be up higher on this person's list, but he's a good coach. Number 12, you're probably gonna like spit your drink out, but Luke Fickell, Wisconsin.
I don't understand, and maybe he will, get it done at Wisconsin. I don't know. I don't understand the infatuation with Luke Fickell. I just don't get it. I don't.
I mean, I can't. I think he's a cool guy, but I can't give you why he's this high.
Yeah.
Number 13, they have Steve Sarkisian, Texas.
Yep.
Okay, I think it fits pretty much right there.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, he's won a little bit, but Texas ain't back yet.
Nope.
They're not.
And they're moving to the SEC, so it's put up or shut up time.
True. And then the 14th person, Lincoln Riley, USC.
Yeah, same.
I mean, even at Oklahoma, he didn't, recruit the best defense on both his schools.
I don't know if they had a defense.
That's true.
At either school.
And then number 15, it's just this name. Like, he hasn't done anything. James Franklin, Penn State. Like, people love this guy, but like,
they do.
He hasn't done anything.
I mean, outside
he hasn't won the big game. Like, yeah, he's beaten Ohio State once, but like, he hasn't done anything. He's had the horses in the stable, but he can't trample anyone.
Mm-hmm.
And then the one name,
right there.
the one name left off that we didn't talk about, so we talked about Dan Lanning off this guy's list, is I'm kind of high on Josh Heupel, Tennessee.
Yeah, little rocky top.
I just like his mentality. It's kind of funny how he got fat, because he used to be that skinny guy running around for Oklahoma that beat my Florida State team in the national championship game. But we don't need to talk about that. But yeah, and then the other one on the list that's not on the list, it probably won't be for a while, is I just want to see what happens for second year, of course, prime time. Just want to see. I'm not saying he's going to be on the top 15, top 20. I just want to see how year 2 goes. I'm just intrigued. I know.
Absolutely. I am too.
They just added Warren Sapp for another defensive coordinator. Like this, I heard a stat where his coaching staff had like 180 something NFL snaps, or I don't even know, something like, don't even quote me. That's probably totally wrong.
It's
like
it's
be crazy,
way more than 180 snaps.
No, I didn't mean snaps. Whatever it was is like some
like years, maybe
years or whatever. And I was like, experience. I was like, oh my. Yeah. But it's just because it's him. I know you don't. I know how you feel.
I'm not a big Coach Prime guy, but you know what? We'll see. We will see. It's an interesting year for him. Obviously, they've got his sons back.
Both of them.
Both of them are? I thought the defensive one was gone.
Nope, he's back. He's a grad student, free safety.
Gotcha.
He's back. His son's the QB.
Okay.
And then Travis Hunter's back. And then a few other their wide receivers. And then they brought in a ton of transfers to beef up the offensive line that you could see struggle. That's why they pretty much went 4-8, because his son always kept getting hit. And then they picked up the number 1 tackle in the recruiting cycle, which is crazy. This guy's like a beast. But I mean, what like, honestly, even though people might hate this guy or harp on, but what young athlete that doesn't want to learn from him, though? Like, seriously.
Yeah. I mean,
there might be the cameras and hoopla and all that, but who doesn't want to like pick his brain if you're going to play the same position as him and learn from him?
Mm-hmm.
Or how to become a better man, or how to do it the right way. Because he'll tell you he made mistakes. He's not going to lie.
Mm-hmm.
I know we got a little tangent there, but
it's definitely his the way he does it is definitely contrary to the way it's usually done. Okay, and I think it's one of those things that it definitely is attractive to a lot of people, and we'll see. I mean, the one thing I will say is he does, with all the flash and stuff that he wants to personify. I think when you get down to the message, a lot of it is you got to show up to work. I mean, he's not cussing people out or acting all crazy or anything. He's come off a little brash sometimes, but yeah, I mean, if he can play house football, they're in what conference are they in?
The Big 12.
They moved to the Big 12. Okay, all right. And I
Back
don't
where they
even.
back where they belong.
Yeah, I mean, and we can get into that too. I know we send TikToks back and forth about conference realignment that actually makes sense, but I think we're past logical anything with conferences anymore. So
For sure.
but hey, NFL draft coming up later this
Before
month.
you jump into that, was there any coaches I missed off that you made your
No.
own list? No.
Nope.
Nobody you're all
Nope.
high on or anything?
No, I had Sarkisian and DeBoer on the outside looking in.
Okay.
I did top 10, and so I had those guys. The first two out, if you will. So, but other than that,
where do you put your Nebraska coach? Eventually, maybe top 20 in the 20th spot, maybe. I feel like he can build a big. If you can build a Baylor, you should be able to build a Nebraska.
Yeah, I'd say top 20. I'd say
Okay.
top 20. Trying to think who else.
Where does the Michigan coach go in at?
Michigan?
Do they
You
have a
mean
coach?
Michigan State?
Oh, yeah,
Michigan
Michigan
State.
State.
Yeah, I'll give him some credit. But Shooter Sanders, or not Shooter Sanders? What the hell is his name?
Moore.
The Michigan. What's that?
Shimon Moore.
Yeah, he has not coached. He hasn't coached a game. He's NA. He's not available.
I was just asking because we're in Michigan territory. I was just putting it out there for people.
He's NA, man. You're naming guys from Liberty.
I forgot. Here's a fun coach. Who did UCLA hire? Do you know?
Yeah, player. Arian Foster? No.
Ooh, almost. Deshaun Foster.
Deshaun Foster. There we go.
Kind of cool. Interesting. Old running back there. Yeah. That's interesting. Just a little feedback.
You remember when Arizona State hired Herm Edwards? I like Herm Edwards.
I do.
He's a little quirky, but
well, he got booted. So
I don't even know who else would be top 20 and stuff. Matt Rule would be up there. I mean, unfortunately, Kirk Ferentz got to be up there. What's interesting, I know we're going off a tangent here. PJ Fleck.
Oh boy, he's an interesting character.
Is that mentality wearing a little thin in Minnesota?
I don't know. You don't want to row the boat with them?
I think it's wearing a little thin. Brett Bielema out of Illinois. I've low-keyed always not liked that guy, but I respect him because he always has a tough, hard-nosed team. Illinois looks like they're on the ropes this year. Who knows what the hell's going to happen there? Jeff Brom's got to be up there.
That's what I was going to say, Louisville. I was just thinking about him.
Yeah.
Wait, you know who's back?
Guess who's back?
This might not be appropriate to say.
Mark Stoops is a good coach. I like Mark Stoops.
Kentucky, but this one might be appropriate to say. The secretary taker, Bobby Petrino.
Oh yeah, up on the back of the old. Oh my gosh, can you imagine? They're one Kentucky coach off, but could you imagine a football and basketball program lineup any better than Rick Pitino and Bobby Petrino and Rick Pitino? There you go. How about that? Lock up the women.
No, that would be like the craziest story to come to campus ever, to a visit. Come to your visit. Oh my, you leave as a man or something.
I would go there. That's all I got to say.
We got a little off topic there, but that was good. Yeah, that was good. We brought it full circle back to our boy Rick Pitino.
Yes, the ghost. He's Team Edward. God Lord, that guy looks like a ghost. Get some sun, Rick. Springtime.
All right, you were just talking about the NFL draft, which is here in Detroit.
Yeah. Hey,
we're on the
side
clock.
note. Did you see the sign for Detroit of what they had, the Hollywood sign that they were trying to do? I'm going to do a video about this.
It looks so cool.
It looked cool in the renderings, But if you look at it in real life, it's like
No, I
one
did,
of
I see it.
those
It looks.
Instagram, and then you get it, and it's like,
I
oh, this
feel like
is not good.
somebody shit the bed.
Yeah, big time. Guess how much that thing cost?
A mil.
You know, no, it was 400 grand.
Oh,
I mean, $1 million for 5 letters. Come on, or how many letters in Detroit?
well,
I
I've
don't
seen
even know.
Detroit
6.
Detroit can't fix the potholes, so I was just kind of giving like a big number.
Jeez, maybe there's 7. I don't know. I think there's 7 actually. All right, NFL draft's coming. The NFL, much like college, is a quarterback league. So what's interesting? Hey, who's going to trade up? Who's going to trade down? We've got lots of QBs in this draft. Obviously, we talked about Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels out of LSU, Drake May out of North Carolina. Got JJ McCarthy from your team up north. Michael Penix Jr. From the Huskyville of Washington. So those are kind of
Bo Nix from Oregon has been brought
Bo
up.
Nix, no diggity, no doubt.
Sleeper Spencer Rattler from South Carolina.
If that guy, he has been around.
I remember watching him on the Netflix special, like the QB1 show.
Mm-hmm. He can play though, man.
This draft should be interesting because not even before the draft, I just thought of this real quick. Houston is going all in, dude. Stephon Diggs, part of their wide receiver core for CJ Stroud, the rookie of the year. And they only gave up a 2nd round pick. Like they fleeced them in Minnesota.
Well, and that's I was going to mention that too. It's kind of interesting because last year everybody thought Detroit overreached and picked up Gibbs. Like you watch the war room of Detroit during that pick, they are going bananas like they just hit the lottery. Everybody else is like, who? Gibbs? Okay, yeah. I mean, but you could have had him later. And look what Gibbs did this year. Guy was unbelievable. So there's going to be some head scratchers. It's just a question of who it's going to be. There's a lot of mock drafts out there. And all I've seen is quarterbacks or wide receivers getting picked in the top 6 to 7 picks. I mean, we're not going to see a defensive guy or somebody outside of the quarterback or wide receiver room taken outside of the top 7 picks, or not inside those top 7 picks, I should say.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be one of those trade up drafts, maybe a little bit, but it's going to be pretty much QBs off the board. Like you might get bored watching.
Mm-hmm.
Like nothing crazy is going to happen. Like last year, Houston got 2 first-round picks and, got the offensive rookie of the year and the defensive rookie of the year.
Yeah, that was, and, it kind of makes you wonder, what is Harbaugh doing? Obviously, he took the head coach position for the Chargers, leaving Michigan after they won the national championship in college football. Michigan won the national championship.
Michigan wouldn't sign his, so he couldn't get in trouble.
Still have a national championship. So it's kind of interesting.
Cheating is the way to go. All right. If you're not cheating, you're not trying. Okay.
Rubbin's racing, baby. It's interesting to see what Harbaugh's plan is. Obviously,
he got rid of all his weapons.
Yeah. So what is going on there?
I don't know.
So hopefully they've got a plan on what they want to do.
I've seen one mock where he picks up the tight end from Georgia.
Brock Bowers, who is unbelievable. But okay, so you're just going to throw to one guy now? I mean, we got to have a plan. So NFL draft, always interesting, always overanalyzed.
This year should be interesting too because Detroit's got a low one this for once, is the lower in the draft.
Yeah.
I'm just hoping we touch the defensive side of the ball a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I don't really have anybody I can think of off the top of my head that I want them to draft right now because I haven't really dove into it yet.
Yeah.
But
I mean, outside of, I like the NFL. I'll watch it. I'm more of a college guy personally.
Yeah, I agree.
But I know I can talk shop about NFL too, but I'm not going to dive into the 3rd round. Who McNeese State's cornerback is, lockdown prospects.
No. I mean, if I had a wish, it'd be sweet if we could get our hands on but it's not going to happen. Like the Florida State defensive end, so we can have 2 good defensive ends coming off the corner, or like the Toledo defensive back who's a stud. That'd be cool, but I don't think they'll be there when they pick. But I don't really know. Like, like you said, I know some players, but I haven't really, that's not my thing anymore.
Yeah. We have got the Masters coming up. First round was today. Got a little rain delay action. Just real quick, and then we'll wrap it up here. But obviously the big name on the board is Scotty Scheffler. He's been playing absolutely lights out. I didn't realize this. His wife is pregnant, and if they go into labor, he is on record saying he's jetting out of there. So I'm in a fantasy Masters pick'em league. I did not take Scotty Scheffler. And of course he shoots 600 today. So feeling good about that.
You want to give our picks?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. So of course it started today, but these are my picks before they even happened. So my number pick was Scotty Scheffler.
Mm-hmm.
Then I have Brooks Koepka, Wyndham Clark, and Matt Fitzpatrick were my top 4 that I thought had a chance to be in it to the end.
Yeah.
And then my sleepers were Jordan Spieth, because I've always liked him. Dustin Johnson, old school.
I like DJ.
Bryson DeBochamp, just because he can hit the ball long. And I was like that just because he's just one of those arrogant dudes out there. So that's why.
That dude showed up today.
He did. I was surprised. And then my last sleeper, just because I would love to see it happen, is the Tiger Woods, just because.
Yeah. I mean, it would be cool to see Tiger.
Hey, he won back in 2019, so no one thought that was going to happen.
He did. I'd love to see Ricky Fowler.
Oh yeah, Rico. Yeah.
I'm a Rick,
the Puma guy,
the Puma man. I'm a Ricky Fowler fan.
Oh, that's a good one too.
Just to see him get off the schneid and to get a major there, and it would be cool to see Rory. Rory has never won at the Masters. Rory McIlroy. It'd be cool to see him get a green jacket. Not a Rory guy.
I don't know. He's all right.
He's all right.
But
yeah, you got to say that in the Irish accent.
I don't have an Irish.
Sorry. Right. He's Ireland, right? I think he's Ireland. He's Irish.
Yeah.
He's not Scottish. I don't think.
He's one of those.
He's one of them's.
From over on the pond. He probably hangs out with Joe S on the weekends.
Unbelievable. Dude ran a 4.95. Good Lord almighty.
Speaking of crazy, we won't mention names, but one of my coworkers' husbands got to go to a practice round at the Masters. And I was like, what was it like? And she's like, he said it was like Disney.
I bet, man.
Like,
it would be super. It would be a bucket list.
It's the cleanest, awesomest. It's like the Mecca. Like he was like, he went into the pro shop. There were 75 people that were able to check you out. They were saying like they make $227 a second there in the pro shop. Like this. That's the only way you can get merch for the Masters is that pro shop.
It's absolutely absurd.
Like if I could go, I would. And of course, I asked, like, who do you follow on the course for the practice round? She's like, oh, Tiger Woods, Rory McIlroy, and then she didn't remember the other ones. And I was like, that's okay. I was like, no, that's just like amazing. Like that'd be like, I don't even know. If I went, I don't even know what to say. Like you can't even bring your cell phone. You have to check yourself out the car because they don't let you take any on the practice round, any pictures or anything. So
okay. Yeah, it's something that it's super cool. It's a tradition. I mean, I was working today. I had it on in the background, and just follow, just like the NCAA tournament or something like that. It's must see TV, especially if it's coming down to the wire, and you got some people
That's why
that
I
you're
feel
interested
like
in.
when you talked about Scotty's wife being pregnant, there's no way he's bouncing if he's in the lead on a Sunday. There's no
I mean,
way.
he's said it multiple times. That's why I didn't take him in the fantasy thing. I'm like,
Who'd you take?
I don't know. I took DJ as a past champion. I did it through the Masters website. So you take a past champion, an American, an international, and a wild card. So,
Okay.
Forget exactly who I did grab Rory. Brooks Koepka, DJ, and who's my wild card? I forget. I'd have to look at it, but
Sorry for putting you
I,
sorry for putting you on the spot there.
no, you're fine. I mean, I'm definitely not tearing it up. Definitely not tearing it up. But it's a long tournament. See what happens. But hey, we covered a lot. Like I said, this was going to be a jam-packed. Talking basketball, recapping episodes, talking a lot of college football, sprinkle of NFL in there, a little golf. Anything you want to touch base on? Kind of put a bow on this one.
We are pretty much all over the map, just besides I didn't bring up any baseball. But we were all over.
Which I'm okay with.
I like baseball. I'm a fan, but as you can tell, what's behind me. So, but yeah, I mean, just so many topics that we enjoy to cover and we get to talk about. I'm kind of excited for our next episode. We're going to talk about coaching. Just from us growing up to me and you getting into coaching, what we see, what we notice. Probably talk about some different conversations. But yeah, I think that'll be an interesting topic because, well, if you have a parent coach and stuff like that, I feel like that's just something we should get into and how the times have kind of changed a little bit.
Yeah, I'm all about it. I know the first couple episodes here, a couple episodes have been about sports and NCAA and this and that and different college football stuff. We talked to Joe obviously for the Coach's Corner, so that was more mentality and tell us about your story. And this will get into what we see as coaches, coaching the youth of America and kind of the ins and outs of that. So super excited about it. Maybe get into a little bit of our history and why we do the things that we do and why we're so passionate about it. So
I mean,
really
I agree with what you're saying. I mean, a lot of people might say, "Oh, your first episodes are about sport," but how couldn't it be when we started this podcast, opened up with the perfect thing, headed into a few different things that are lining up? I mean,
absolutely.
Of course, we want to talk about more personal stories and other things, but we'll get there. That's why our next, so people are waiting for us to have our heart out there. We will get there. But
the couch sessions,
the counseling sessions, right? But we will get there. But just how I lined up, you cannot talk about these big events that were coming down the line. Like there's no way.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I'm excited. We'll see what comes next. Like we say, thank you for riding along with the Coach and the Cowboy. And then until next time, saddle up and keep chasing those dreams.